All right, welcome back, guys, to my interview with Marquette. It's honestly been an honor. I really do appreciate it, Marquette, for you to continue this with me. So there's two main things I wanted to get into in this video. It's going to be business and YouTube. So YouTube, let's talk about YouTube.
Okay.
What made you decide to start a YouTube channel? Because you were in teaching, you were successful, you became an entrepreneur, did well over there. You ended up exiting a company. What made you get into YouTube?
You know what? I've always been a strong reader, and
Mhm.
would always write down my book notes. And I was asking myself, I said, you know what? I'm writing this down. What can I do with it? And that's one thing that I'm always asking myself is like, how can I take one thing and do more than how can I monetize it? How can I do more than one thing with this one effort? And so, in as much as that's the case, the most recent book I'd read up to that point was I don't want to say the name of it because I don't know if it's flagged, but it was a particular book. It was a unique book. And so I said, you know what? Instead of writing out my notes and just keeping them for myself, I'll post this on YouTube. So I posted it on YouTube. And I forget what year what that was. And that was it. And I actually forgot about it. And then I remember I was on a trip on holiday. I was in a German speaking country. I forget if I was in Austria or Germany itself, but I
Yeah.
was leaving Europe, flying down to Tanzania. And right before I left the airport, I saw like all of a sudden I got like 400 subscribers, and I was like, is this like spam? Is this like if someone's trying to scam me or something? Then when I landed, I had like another couple thousand, so I was going viral. So I actually stumbled upon YouTube on accident, frankly.
I actually know exactly what video you're talking about and the book you're
Yeah.
talking about. I was going through your older videos and I'm like, wait a minute, what? So, all right. So, question on YouTube actually.
Mhm.
Why do you, and this is actually, I guess, a business question. And I feel like, I think I know, but I want to hear confirmation from you. Why do you have several YouTube channels with different names? Like, you have the Saint and the Sinner, you have the
Okay.
Saint. I'm pretty sure you had Marquette Devon. And then
Oh.
similarly, I've seen you do something similar with your clothing brands. You have MDB label. You also have Sassin label. Why do you have so many different brands and channel names? Is this a tactic?
Let's say no and yes. I know usually people say yes and no, but
Mhm.
order in the proper order, it's no and yes.
Yeah.
So the Saint in the Center was the first name that I came up with, which was more like a philosophical stance, right? Which is that we try our best to be saintly, but we are imperfect, so we are also sinners. So there was that, and then after going viral, and then it stopped suddenly. At which point I was shadow banned.
Mhm.
Then we created the backup channel, which is called the Saint. And
Oh,
on that channel, I wanted
okay.
to have content that was
Backup.
less likely to be banned. So there's that.
Gotcha.
With regards to the fashion brands, it's just different styles of clothing for the most
Mhm.
part. So we separated them out by brand. So no real genius behind it.
Oh, okay. I actually thought a bit of an Andrew Tate method where he has different podcasts and then he cuts up clips and then so you get hit by all these different angles. I thought there was some of that in play because I have this theory where if you get a bunch of people at once to watch your videos from different places in the world, I feel like your video would have a better chance of doing well on YouTube. I just feel like that.
That is
Because,
correct, and there are a number of reasons for that. So yes, and Andrew Tate certainly has been a marketing genius, but
Mhm.
certainly you should have a clips channel which gives short form content, and more importantly, you should have other outlets pushing out your content and your name such that your name begins to trend in the algorithm. And it can't
Yeah.
do that unless many outlets are pushing it at the same time, which is why currently I'm starting to gain virality.
Mhm. And, actually, speaking of Andrew Tate, so one of the best interviews in my opinion, I feel like this, it wasn't an interview, it was a review of an interview that you had where you reviewed the interview of Andrew Tate and Piers Morgan talking about Israel and Palestine. I feel
Yes,
like that video specifically doesn't have as much views as it should have. In my opinion, it was one of your best, videos. So
thank
say
you.
what you want about Andrew Tate, but he's definitely, like you said, a marketing genius and a great communicator. Uh,
Absolutely.
wh yeah, when you broke down areas where he could have answered better, that's where it made me realize that, dang, this guy actually knows really well what he's talking about. Because Andrew Tate, in a lot of instances, said, there's people that know better than me about these topics and stuff. You seem to actually know the topic very well, which I was, genuinely surprised about. I A question I have for you is, what do you think, besides the whole, sex trafficking stuff? What do you think sets you apart from Andrew Tate? Because I'll be honest, my
Mhm.
initial thoughts about you was that wow, he's actually surprisingly and oddly very similar to Andrew Tate because you guys are both bald, you guys are good communicators, you guys are both tall, into boxing or fighting sports. I'm like, wow, it's just weird how you got two people similar views on masculinity, two people that have very similar thoughts coming up around the same time. It was really weird to me. So, what do you think are your biggest differences with him?
That's a very meaningful question. Not even if you didn't think that it's an important question because that's been said before.
Hmm.
The first thing we have to understand is that, and let me congratulate Andrew Tate on his marketing genius, on his success. I'm very proud of him. The most important thing I think when we pass away, he and I, I'm thinking about, well, what do I want on my tombstone? What will be there? If we look at how we spend our money, I think this is an important consideration. Most of the way I spend my money is to philanthropy.
Hmm.
And as I said, I filled up 4 passports. And when you hear me speak about geopolitics, you can tell that I really understand.
Yeah.
I
Oh, for
really
sure,
know
for
what's
sure.
going on.
You're cultured. I can tell even when you speak about different countries in Africa. I can tell you've been there. Morocco, a lot of I've been to Morocco. A lot of the Muslim world, I know. I can tell you know pretty well.
And I've supported causes that I can't even speak of, and for that reason, I don't publicize a lot of the places I invest my charitable dollars. And so, whereas I could be buying, have a 10-car collection and and I'm not saying I don't have nice things. I do have
Hmm.
nice things. I have luxury cars. I have multiple properties. I have bank accounts around the world. But the greater bulk of where I spend my money, I haven't spoken about, and it's primarily in philanthropy. And once I'm on my deathbed or on my way out, or I've stopped public life,
Hmm.
then it'll come to public, and I think people will see a radical difference at that level in terms of like you have two guys who have a significant amount of money. How are they allocating the capital? And the reason that I was influenced to do that, I remember when Barack Obama was running for president, and truth be told, I was a young kid at that time, but someone I respect, Dr. Renford Reese, who had been a mentor to me, very
Hmm.
successful Black man and academic who wrote one of the first books I'd ever read in its entirety. I remember he did a fundraiser for Barack Obama, and he said, and at this time I was a young man who was nowhere near being a millionaire. He
Hmm.
said, "You guys are all millionaires." Now, mind you, this was a fundraiser, so these were millionaires, except me.
Uh-huh.
I was a kid. I was a
Yeah.
kid. I was listening, and he said, if you die, like no one's going to remember you because you had a bunch of money. A lot of people have a bunch of money. They're going to remember you because of what you've done with your time here, maybe how you've used your money, not to buy fancy cars or big houses, but maybe some of the good you might have done with your money. And I
Hmm.
remember just hearing him saying, no one remembers a dead millionaire.
Hmm.
No one remembers a dead billionaire just because they were a millionaire, just because they were a billionaire. And I always loved Muhammad Ali, not because of the way he boxed, but also because of what he did in the world and what he stood for.
Oh yeah,
And
for
so,
sure.
right?
He was an
And
icon. He
so,
was an icon. Him, Malcolm X too. Not enough people know about Malcolm X, man. It's
right.
truly insane. It's insane.
That's
And I
right.
think a lot of that is the media as well. And
On purpose.
last question I just had to ask you before we end it is, if you were broke today, what would you do to become wealthy again?
If I was broke knowing what I know now,
Yeah.
so I'm not starting from scratch in terms of knowledge.
Yep. Network,
Okay. Yeah.
you're broke. Money, you're broke. Knowledge, you still have it. What would you do?
Okay. Yeah. So then I'm not broke. Then I'm extremely wealthy. I'm extremely
Okay, then
wealthy.
without the knowledge, then
Okay,
without
cool.
the knowledge,
You know what?
without the knowledge.
I'll work from with the knowledge. So if I have the knowledge, the first thing I would do is I would take a self-assessment and say, are there any natural advantages that I have? Natural advantages, things that I can already do better than most people. And once I
Mhm,
identify, not find, not want to search, but identify what my natural advantage is, then I would ask myself, how can I bring that to the market, preferably through a digital good that doesn't have any tangible aspect, which means high profit margins? And then how can I market it masterfully? Because we're in an era where marketing is really king. The product doesn't have to be high quality. The product needs to be reasonably low cost, easy to disseminate, which is to say, ideally digital or low cost, low weight. And then you have to market the hell out of it.
Mhm.
That's the era we're in. You don't have to be gifted, you have to be prolific. And so that's what I would hyper focus on is what is my unique offering within the marketplace and how do I get this message out to anyone possible through marketing? And then how do I also leverage free or low cost marketing? Because as you said, I don't have any money, right? And one thing we realize is that negativity sells, drama sells, sex sells, controversy sells. And so I would use all of those things to get my message out. And I'll give you a little bit more time to answer one question because I wanted to kind of just finish off that Andrew Tate piece because it's in a really important thing for people to understand. Now, beyond how do we spend the money? The reason I started with money, not because money is important to me, but because that's what he's known by. What color's your Bugatti? And shout out to Tate. I'm very proud of it. But that's what
Yeah.
he's known by for the money. I don't want to be known for that.
Yep.
What I want to be known for, really, what I really want to be known for is the truth of who I am. I'm a guy who was born in a ghetto with a drug addict mother and a drug dealer father. I never once used drugs my entire life.
Wow.
I'm a guy who had an
That's
uncle
actually
die from alcoholism. I've never had one sip of alcohol. I don't know what it tastes like. I'm a man who's exercised every single day. Everything that I have is because I earned it through discipline and hard work, which is what anyone can do. I say that as a difference between Tate, not to say that he's a bad person, but to say, whereas you might see Tate with a cigar, you will never see Marquette Devon Bergen with a cigar or a cigarette. You might see Tate and his brother drinking fine bourbon and fine whiskey. You will never see me engaging intoxicants because I've seen intoxicants destroy lives. I've seen intoxicants take shame away from a mother such that she would leave her kids or do prostitution to earn money. I've seen it destroy societies. You will never see me do drugs or alcohol or promote those things and make it look cool. That's the big difference. You will always see that I am driven by my values, which have been unchanging over an entire lifetime. I will never pretend as though you're an alpha male because you smoke a cigar, or you got a private plane or a fancy car. I don't want to teach alpha males. I want to teach you to be a great man and a good man. That is the radical difference. And I don't say that to take anything away from anyone else, Tate included. I say that just to speak on the true man that I've been, that is documented over time by anyone you would ask who's come across me.
Wow. Fantastic answer. I mean, I'm speechless. With that being said, guys, thank you so much. Um, wow. Just subscribe to Marquette's channel, The Saint and the Sinner, at Marquette Devon. Also, The Saint. Where can people follow you on Instagram?
Yeah, check me out at Marquette Devon on Instagram. And
Yeah.
Inam, I want to thank you for being a gracious host and being an upstanding person. I want to congratulate you on your success. Your success. I know that you're in a very rigorous field. You're in an Ivy League, and so I'm very impressed with that. I want to see you continue being successful and meeting good people like you, especially in this space. It's a true privilege, and I hope that your voice is magnified.
Thank you so much, Marquette. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.